Welcome back to my channel, and today's video is the fourth in a series of videos about the G Center. The G Center is the heart center. It's the energetic heart center. According to the story of human design, the energetic heart center split into two different centers, the G Center and the will center. And this series of videos is primarily about the G Center. You can see here from this image that there are enormous number of channels that run through this G Center. It's a very important, powerful center, even though it is not a motor. It is still very powerful. It is the home to the magnetic monopole, which is the magnetic force of the heart, which is an attractive force, and it brings things into our life that are in alignment with the energy that we're holding in our G Center or in our heart center. And so that's why this energy is so important to get a handle on, because whatever we're radiating from our heart is what we're going to be attracting more and more into our life. In the first three videos, I talked about the individual circuitry that is running through the G Center. So there are three videos for that, and you can check those out here in this playlist. And I will also put it down at the end of the video so that you'll be able to go and find those if you haven't seen them already. It's probably a good idea at least to watch the first one, because it'll give you a little bit more of a grounding in what it is that we're doing here. So in these last two videos, we're going to turn our attention to the collective circuitry, which is the logic circuit or the pattern circuit in quantum human design, and the sensing circuit or the miracle circuit in quantum human design. And so they run right up through the central channel, and they run from the sacral to the G Center, and then from the G Center to the throat, or from the throat to the sacral center. The knowing circuit, which is individual circuitry, also does that, and it runs right up through the middle. And I talked about that in the very first video. So there are some similarities in the sense that we're looking at energy that is moving from the sacral center up into the heart, bringing primary life force energy up into this G Center. It's really fueling that G Center. And then coming out and enabling the manifestation, the activation, and the expression that happens through the throat center. In today's video, we're going to focus on the logic circuit. So the logic circuit, it starts in the left brain, crosses over in the ajna, comes down around the right-hand side of the body, and then up through that central channel. So the 515 is what connects the sacral to the G Center. In traditional human design, this is known as the channel of rhythm, and in quantum human design, it's known as natural order. So the logic circuit is also known as the pattern circuit in quantum human design, and so it is about patterns, and the 515 is about the cycles of the natural world. So it has to do with like the sun coming up and the sun going down and the earth going around the sun. So we have seasons, we have moon cycles, we have day cycles, and so on, the turning of all of that is in that 515. So it's an interesting combination, because on the one hand, we've got this kind of logical, rational, reasonable, analytical, quantitative, focused kind of energy that the logic circuit has. But then we've got the natural world, which does have its own pattern, and it does have its own logic, absolutely. And a lot of times when we look at the natural world, it seems pretty chaotic, right? You know, if you were to walk around inside of a forest, it's like, wow, look at all the different stuff that's going on in here. And yet there is a logic that is happening in there. It's one that human beings have been trying to map out and understand and manipulate for a long time now. Although it kind of escapes our ability to do that in many ways. We can really benefit by tapping into this channel right now, because we tend to be pretty disconnected from the cycles of the natural world, living in a technological society where we have lights, we have electricity, we have heat, or we have air conditioning, or whatever it is. We have an internet and enables us to have a 24/7, 365 society. And so a lot of times people have gotten very disconnected from what's going on with the rhythms of the natural world. And yet we are part of the natural world. We are not separate from it. We are actually a part of it. And it's hard on our health when we separate ourselves and push away the cycles of the natural world and act like they don't exist. I think a lot of the health challenges that we have today are influenced by the fact that we see ourselves as being separate from the natural world, and we live our lives often as if we are separate from it. So one of the things you can do is to really tap into these energies and to be looking at how can I be aligning myself with the rhythms of the natural world. I know that I do this definitely with the equinoxes and the solstices. I do it to some degree with the moons, and I definitely do it with the seasons overall, and also with the day. I try to have a regular rhythm about when I get up, when I go to bed, when I eat, things like that, because it really supports my body to work optimally when it has a natural rhythm. Now, the only caveat to this is if you have the gate 15 defined in your chart and not the gate 5, you may find it difficult to have a natural rhythm. That gate is known as extremes. And so a lot of times there's a lot of variability for people who have that defined in their charts. It's also the gate of compassion, or the gate of the love of humanity. And so if we think about this energy coming up from the sacral that has this kind of connection to the natural world, and then it's fueling our love of humanity, it's fueling our compassion, and it's bringing this life force energy into the heart center, right? At the center for love and lovability, for identity and direction. So when we can tap into being in the flow of this energy, and we can allow it to support us rather than working against it, which is what we do when we resist the rhythms of nature. We're basically resisting this flow that could be helping us. So if you do that, that can really help you, and it can fuel that heart center. Now, on the other side of that, we've got the 31-7, which is bringing that heart energy, that love, lovability, identity, and direction up into the throat center. So in traditional human design, this is known as the channel of the alpha. And in quantum human design, it's been renamed as the channel of egalitarianism, which I think is a beautiful evolution that Karen Curry Parker has created inside of this quantum human design system. So let's take a look at these gates too. So the 7 is on the heart center, it's on the G center, and it is known as collaboration in quantum human design. When it was first introduced to me, this was before quantum human design came out, it was introduced to me as kind of the chief of staff energy. So if the 7 is the 31 is the president, then the 7 is the chief of staff. And that's kind of where the channel of the alpha came from, right? Is that these are the two kind of top dogs. And the 31 is the more of the figurehead, and the 7 is the one who really knows what's going on. I have the 7 defined in my chart. I always found that kind of ironic and humorous. But in quantum human design, we've really evolved this to, I think, be more in alignment with the new world that we are wanting, that we are in the process of creating, truly, which is more egalitarian, which is based in collaboration. So the 7 is collaboration, and the 31 is the democratic leader or democracy. And I like to call it the New World Leader. In my feminine sovereign archetypes, it's the New World Leader. And it is the energy that, so it is collective, right? So it's about the big picture. And so but it's egalitarian and it's collaborative. So there's a little bit of a tension here, which is interesting because on the one hand, we tend to collaborate best in smaller groups of people where we can all sit around a table, for example, or we can all know who each others are. I mean, during the vast majority of our time as humanity, we lived in groups of people from 50 to 150 people. And so we knew who everybody was, and we grew up with each other. And it may be that you went from one tribe to another, but the tribes were more or less similar sizes. It's only in the last few hundred years that we've had much bigger cities. Before that, it was pretty unusual to have bigger cities. Sometimes they were, but the vast majority of people did not live in bigger cities. And so we're really grappling kind of with this legacy that we've had of colonialism, which is where the bigger cities came from, was from colonialism. And, or they were fed by colonialism, let's put it that way. And so we're grappling with this history of ours of colonialism, and we're trying to disentangle it and unravel it, because it has been part of a mindset that goes with consuming and with taking from the earth without thinking about the consequences, and with also hierarchical relationships among people that were based in brutality and coercion and so on. So we're really looking at how do we unravel all of that? How do we take that apart? How do we start to create a new way of being in the world where we recognize each other as sovereign beings, each one of us as sovereign beings, and that we are stronger when we work together. And it's when we can collaborate with each other and create mutually satisfying collaborations, which is actually pillar number 7 of feminine sovereignty. Then that's when we do that we can really be creating something that works for everyone. And one of the ways to think about this is to remember that 7 is on the G center, right? It's the center for love and lovability and identity and direction. And compassion is here too, right? Because it's connected to that 15, which is the gate of compassion and love of humanity. And so we're fueling this new democratic leadership with this heart energy, with this compassion energy, with this interconnectedness energy. And so it can really support us in looking at how do we create new governance structures, for example, that are going to be more collaborative, where more people are involved, and how can we do that in scales that really work so that people can see each other and can communicate with each other and come up with solutions that work better for everyone. In doing the research for my book on feminine sovereignty, one of the things that I've been diving into is this huge field of people all over the world that are creating new possibilities, whether that's new governance structures, new economic structures, new energy structures, new food ways, and so on, that are decentralized and that are looking at how do we take some weight off of the larger structures. How do we take the weight off the earth? How do we stop polluting and really devastating the earth with our human behavior? How do we change that? How do we do this differently? And one of the things that I hear all the time is the need to decentralize and to be working in smaller groups of people, whether that's the Dunbar number of up to 150 people, or whether that is in a group of 5 million people or smaller, that has to do with like a nation state. So there's a lot of interesting work that's being done in that area. And this egalitarian channel, I believe, is one of the keys to that, and particularly when it is being fed by this heart energy. And then to remember that is also connected to this channel of the natural order, right? So the natural world is right here with our collaboration and with our new world leadership, right? And so we need to be coming up with new ways of leading that is connected to the natural world, that recognizes that we are a part of it and that we cannot survive without it. Technology is not going to save us if we destroy the natural world. I don't know if people keep thinking that that's going to save us, but it's not, because it can't. And so we need to be developing new ways of being in the world that recognize this and help us to really come together. One of the classes that I took recently, there was a comment made by the instructor where he was noting that the big kind of leaps in human evolution, every single one of them was based on human collaboration, not on hierarchy, not on conflict, not on colonialism, which I found extremely interesting. And that's kind of where we are right now. So my invitation for you is to be just taking a look at how are things going in your life? What are the structures that you're living inside of? Because collective circuitry is about the big structures, right? Is that a city that you live in? Is it a workplace that you have that is big? Is it politics that you're engaged in, or some kind of economic structures like the stock market or something like that. That's all collective circuitry. Like, what is your relationship to these bigger structures, and how does that feel to you? Is it working for you? Is there some way you would like it to be different? Is there some way you could go into your heart and you could feel the impulses that are coming from your heart? Is there some way that tuning into natural order and compassion could help you with that? Is there some way that your connection with other people and your ways of collaborating with people can support you with that? Because I think this is what's going to help us get through this challenging time that we have here on planet Earth, where we're being really forced to come up with new ways of being. And I really love the way human design gives us some suggestions about how we're going to do that. So that's what we have for collective circuitry for today and the logic circuit. And in our next video, we're going to be looking at the sensing circuit, or the miracle circuit, which is right-brained energy, and it's creative and it's abstract and it's embodied and it's physical and it's very different. It's a beautiful match to this left-brained energy. Okay, many blessings, much love.